Wellington United to Oxford United, the greats still look on. Through the agony and the joy, we move forward, the Yellow Army together as one. Reunited with our past as we dream of our future.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast, and welcome to the first ever episode of The Interview. And we're joined with a very, very special guest today. We're joined with Nick Harris, MotoGP broadcaster, journalist, author, and obviously Oxford United broadcaster and massive fan as well. How are you doing, Nick? You okay?
Yeah, very well indeed. Thanks. I'm just a bit disappointed about the Blackpool result, but I suppose over the years, you get used to Sunday mornings when you feel a bit disappointed sometimes.
100%. No, yeah. I think the most disappointing thing, wasn't it, was that sort of contrast between Tuesday and Saturday yesterday, because we just saw such a positive performance on Tuesday, and then quite a sort of polar opposite one on Saturday yesterday. Yeah,
I mean, I think it whetted our appetite on Tuesday. I haven't seen Oxford United play like that. I'd probably say this season, to be honest, there have been games. I thought that the first half against Doncaster, they were so good. First half against Blackpool, who'd done their homework very well and were a really decent side. United was so poor, sloppy, never caused any real problems, did they, in that final third of the field, and couldn't defend set pieces. It was mighty disappointing. Got to say, in the second half, in these sort of games, you've got to take your chances. And I think it was Atkinson with a header and Mark Sykes with a close range shot. I think if one goal had gone in, it would have made a massive difference. And I think, certainly would have settled for a point, I think, after the first half.
Oh, 100%. And, you mentioned there about the set pieces. It was one of the set pieces we handed to them. It was they shouldn't have had the second corner anyway. That was a really, really sloppy piece of play. And, it was quite disappointing, but we learned it's not the end of the world. We can't be too down about it. We're only 3 points away from the playoffs still. And we've got a big game on Tuesday against Northampton. What are your thoughts going into that game on Tuesday? Confident? I mean, it's not going to be easy.
If you'd have asked me yesterday morning, I'd have been very confident. I mean, Northampton are fighting for their lives, but United have gone to these sort of places where teams are fighting their lives and done very, very well this season. Swindon, Burton, Rochdale. You do feel that I think it was probably a kick up the backside for United a little bit, and I think that they realised that no game in this league is easy, is it? And I think the two games coming up this week are prime examples at different ends of the table. Will both be very, very difficult. I really expect United on Tuesday night to fight back in style.
100%, and we can't really be, we can't hold on that result too long. We've just got all we can really do is just get on with it, and we've got games coming up. We haven't got an endless run of games coming up, but we've got some games that we've got to get points in. And if we do want to finish in the top 6 coming into the season, games against Northampton and a very, very difficult one on Friday against Lincoln. It's not going to be easy, is it? But we've just got to forget about that and I guess learn from the mistakes that we made and definitely be working on those set pieces 100%. I've got a few questions for you. We've got a few sort of quick fire questions, but I'm sure they won't be too quick. I'm sure we can speak about them for as long as we want.
They never usually are with me, are they?
That's fine. I think that makes it.
My problems, yeah.
But don't worry about it. I mean, the more talking points, the better, I guess. I've got a first one for you. I think it could be an interesting one. I think we've got a few ideas of what you might say, but it's your favourite moment as an Oxford United fan or broadcaster. It's a very, very broad question, I know, but if you could pick one.
I suppose you have got to say that the Milk Cup final. That there's so many getting two. I would say 2 Wembley games. Very contrasting games for what they meant. The Milk Cup final, United when they had absolutely nothing to lose and played brilliantly. And I love that side, the side that won the Milk Cup final. I think Trevor Hebbard in that midfield was one of the best midfielders I've ever seen play for United. So, and the whole occasion, the old Wembley Stadium, 90,000 people, all the people from Oxford, what was it, 38,000 or so. But you've got to say the game, the playoff game that got us back into the Football League was so emotional, so important. So the Milk Cup final wasn't nerve-wracking because it was a one-off final. United, to get there, had done an amazing job. The playoff final really was about the whole future of the football club. And when that last goal went in, I don't think
it's more relief than anything.
I will ever forget. It makes me tingle now just thinking about it, to be honest with you. Amazing, an amazing day,
100%. I think it's relief more than anything, wasn't it? When we get back in the Football League, I think the main emotion was relief, and obviously a lot of happiness as well. Would you say that that's your sort of favourite moment as a fan and broadcaster? Would you say that sort of comes under the same thing?
Oh, golly, as a fan, there's been some amazing games. So many. I remember when Swindon were the League Cup holders, they'd beaten Arsenal at Wembley the year before on that terrible pitch when they'd had the Horse of the Year show there. And they came to Oxford as the holders, and we beat them 1-0 at the Manor Ground in an evening game. And David Sloan, who was about 5 foot tall, scored the winner with a header. I remember 1-0. That was very special. Even further back, the Blackburn game when Oxford beat Blackburn in the FA Cup. That was an amazing occasion. I mean, United had a real chance as a 4th division club then to get into the FA Cup final. It didn't happen, but that was special. In more modern times, there's been some amazing results of late, even, hasn't there? Some great FA Cup games,
100%. I was there for the 3-0 Newcastle game a few seasons ago.
Yeah.
I was there, and that was an absolutely fantastic game. Obviously, I was there for the 4-0 West Ham game. That was last season, wasn't it? I mean, it feels like 3 seasons ago, but it was only last season.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. I got to put the West Ham game right up there with you. I thought United that night were magnificent.
Yeah, we were fantastic. We have Manchester City come up a few seasons now in a row as well. The last one, we equalised, wasn't it? Straight after half time, Matty Taylor scored that equaliser. I think
that's right.
There was sort of that tingle of hope that we could pull something that would have been unbelievable. It wasn't to be, but that goal as well was one of the best. Was one of the best as well. And this is an interesting one, I think. And I think you've been around Oxford United for a long time, so I'm sure you can remember some absolutely amazing players. But if you could pinpoint one player, you can pinpoint one favourite Oxford United player of all time, and give us a little reason why. Who do you reckon you would go with?
I was thinking about this before we started, and I think you'd have to look at somebody from that 80s side that was so magnificent, and I don't think you could look further really than John Aldridge. I mean, he was a world-class striker playing for up the hill, Headington, Oxford United, and he was amazing. Whatever was happening in a game, however the game was going, you always knew you had a chance because you knew that he would score a goal. Funny enough, sadly, the passing away of Peter Lorimer yesterday. I remember that amazing game when, in fact, Peter Lorimer got sent off in that game after an altercation with John Aldridge, and Oxford were 2 down, 3 down, and beat Leeds. So 2 down and beat Leeds United. Game against Ipswich, I think it was, when United were 3 down and won 4-3, and John Aldridge was an amazing player. But after saying that, he had some fabulous players around him. Trevor Hebbard, Ray Houghton. I mean, you just see what they went on to do to play at Liverpool, league champions, obviously playing in the World Cup. But there's also some good players who played for Oxford, didn't play that many games, and sometimes I forget about them. Colin Todd, who was the England captain, played a few games for Oxford when Jim Smith first came in. He was my absolute hero. See him playing for Oxford. Mark Wright, Littlemore boy, and went on to amazing things. So there is a lot of them, but you're trying to pinpoint one. I think you'd have to say John Aldridge.
Fair enough. I mean, like you said there, you've been around the club for a long time. You've witnessed some fantastic performances and some fantastic players, and you've just named 4 there, and there's probably hundreds and hundreds of more fantastic players. And
there's personal ones as well. Hughie Curran. When he came to Oxford, Hughie was a Scottish international, played at Wembley, scored against England, hat-trick on his first game on Match of the Day, playing for Wolves, came to Oxford, befriended me when I was just starting as a journalist, very much so, and helped me so much. And you don't forget people like that. And Ron Atkinson, I mean, when I first started Oxford, it was Headington United. They weren't even the number one, just about the number one club in Oxford, alongside Oxford City. They were the posh boys up the hill. They used to be classed as the rich boys who were spending money in the Southern League. And Ron Atkinson took Oxford United from a Southern League club to the Championship. And
it's amazing.
Mostly on his shoulders. Incredible leader, unbelievable leader, and did such a job.
100%, 100%. If you could, this isn't one I've actually written down. This is one that just talking about it, it's just sort of come to my mind. If you could name your favorite player in the last, let's say, 5 seasons. So if we narrow it down to the last 5 seasons, which I mean, with this year feels like you're asking you about 10 seasons because we feel like we've missed a season, but we are still, it's just been such a strange season.
Yeah. That's a really difficult one.
Yeah.
Who had such a significant part of the team. Kemar Roof, I think, came exactly at the right time. Didn't gel immediately, did he? But
no, I think that's the crazy thing with Kemar Roof is you look now what he's gone on to achieve and the clubs he's playing for and what he's doing now. You just sort of think it does sort of blow your mind a little bit to think that he was playing, League 2, League 1 football for Oxford United. He's played for Anderlecht in Belgium, and obviously Rangers as well now, I think he is. So, you look at who he's playing for now and what he's done in his career after Oxford United. And, I think he's such a significant player for Oxford United. And, but then again, there's been so many players that have been absolutely fantastic in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, Rob Dickie, I think
was a fantastic last season.
See the way he improved. In front of your very eyes, you saw him getting better and better every game. And I think he went for not a snip to QPR, but I thought that was an amazing signing. And the 2 lads who went to Brentford.
Baptiste and Fossey were absolutely fantastic.
I've got to say, Baptiste, I think, was one of my favourites because
he was fantastic.
When that West Ham game you mentioned, he was truly fantastic. And I remember going to Sunderland. I think it was the opening game of the season. Did United draw 1-1? No, I hadn't really seen a great deal of him, and he'd had his injury problems. He was. Watching that, I thought this is somebody special.
Yeah.
Probably does appear that injuries are a bit of a problem for him, which is sad because I think he is a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, honestly. Again, you talk about the players we've had. We're naming all these players, and a lot of them have gone on to have some fantastic careers and are not Oxford United anymore. And I think that proves our point, really, doesn't it? Some of the fantastic players we've had in the last few seasons are now playing at a higher up in the league and higher in the football pyramid, I guess. Mm-hmm. But no, that we've had some fantastic players, and I think, and we look at the starting lineup yesterday, particularly. We look at the squad we've got. I mean, I think specifically, I think Dickie, another reason why I think Dickie was fantastic was probably because of Karl Robinson's faith in Rob Dickie. He gave him the captaincy last season. He gave him that opportunity to shine at centre back. And I guess it's a good point to talk about Karl Robinson and how he did trust Rob Dickie to make him the captain after Messinho got that injury. And he, in the end, that sort of captaincy and that responsibility, has taken him to having a fantastic career at QPR. But we'll talk about Karl Robinson, and I'd be interested to see what your thoughts on Karl Robinson are as a manager in terms of the playing style and things like that. But when you think Karl Robinson, what do you think, and how do you, so what do you think of Oxford United under Karl Robinson?
Exciting, off the wall, total enthusiasm, infectious enthusiasm. That's what I think about him straight away. After that, I think he's an excellent coach. I like to see the way he brings on young players, and I think he's done that throughout his career, MK Dons and even at Charlton. I like to see that because that's. I think that's a blueprint of Oxford United in many ways. They like bringing on players. Yeah, sadly, as you so rightly said, a lot of them get sold on in the end. But that's where the club is. I got enormous respect for Karl Robinson.
100%.
I listened to him yesterday talking about takeover. Well, it's not really a takeover, is it? But about the new investment and everything. And it made me smile. Jerome said, well, I'm going to speak to Karl Robinson, and I expect he'd play straight past. He said he won't say a lot. 11 minutes the interview was with Karl Robinson. And you just get it all, don't you? It all comes out. And he does understand what Oxford United is all about.
100%.
He really does understand that. He does. His enthusiasm is really infectious. Sometimes I think after the game he perhaps says too much, and sometimes I can't agree with what he says, but that's the manager. But he understands what Oxford United is all about. I really like him as a manager. For not only playing reasons, the reasons he understands the club, he understands the fans, and I think that's the most top class.
100%. I think that's the most important thing. When you've got a manager that understands the culture, understands about the football club, I think you can then sort of sit back and say, we've got the right man. And even when things don't go our way, and even when we went on that sort of, it was a disappointing start to the season, and we've been on disappointing runs under Karl Robinson. But when you've got a manager that understands how we want to play and sort of understands the background and the history of the football club, I think that sort of makes some of the worst times under a manager a little bit easier.
Yeah, very much so. I think when the bad times come, like the start of the season, the fans will not get on his back too much because
100%.
they respect it and everything. And quite often there are reasons. The start of this season really was injuries as much as anything, and obviously a bit of a hangover. He was absolutely devastated after the playoff final, because I think he really felt that this was the time that United could get into the Championship. So it was a very tough start to the season, but the fans stayed with him. And the way he's handled the pandemic, the way the club have handled the pandemic, but he is the talisman, isn't he? He is the spokesman. Nobody 100%. Else speaks for Oxford United over nearly any subject, do they? He takes over and speaks about everything about United, but I find that very refreshing.
100%. And I think I've always sort of, I think another thing as well, I think we'll talk about the summer and we'll talk about sort of that in between Wycombe and the start of the season. I think the most important thing as well, he's always very, very honest about the club runnings and the way that the club's being run. He's always very open about it. But I think another reason why, we always see Karl Robinson being linked to championship clubs and teams higher up, but he's always seemed to, I mean, it's only been here, I think it's 3 seasons now, 2.5 seasons now, but he's always sort of stayed at Oxford United and hasn't really ever been affected by the things going around him. And, with championship clubs always coming in from it, it proves he's doing something right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does very much so. And I think it was Birmingham this week, last week. His name was mentioned, and he said immediately he's going to stay at Oxford, and he's on. I think he said he's going to. It's a journey, and they're a long way 100%. From the end, but the big journey has started. That doesn't mean that one day or even soon he may be lured away by a big club. Football's football, that's the way it is. But I think he can really see. I think he's had amazing backing from the board. Yeah, 100%. The shareholders, certainly the January transfer window. He got the players he really wanted, and I'm sure United had to push the boat out a little bit for Elliott Lee and Brandon Barker.
100%.
And I think he appreciates that. He got his new contract. And he's had an awful lot of support, and I think he can see with the news we had yesterday of the extra investment that the club really means to go somewhere. And I was listening to Dave Pritchard from the former Oxford Mailman yesterday. He said he's never got over Karl Robinson, that he got MK Dons into the Championship and then didn't really get the financial support that perhaps he wanted to keep them there. And I think he feels if he gets, or when we say, Oxford United into the Championship, he will have that backing and that support that will make them into a very established Championship club.
100%. It was that comment, wasn't it? It was last week, wasn't it? He wants to get Oxford United into the top 30 clubs in England. And it's a big statement. And you do sort of wonder, he is sort of saying that maybe in the back of his mind, knowing there's something going on above him. Because obviously the news came out about the backing. That was Friday, wasn't it? And I think the statement about him, the top 30 club, was on the Wednesday. I remember reading it and I was like, well, I mean, that's very, very optimistic and very, very exciting. But does he know something that we don't know? Because it was a very, very confident statement. I think that's the best way of putting it. But, we do now know that there is something going on higher up above him in the board. And I think it's quite an exciting time to be an Oxford United fan. And it could be a really significant change.
Yeah, I think so. As I say, I think they've supported the club brilliantly. And I think Tiger, as chairman, has done an amazing job. I think he's almost of the Robinson mode. Didn't speak in a Scouse accent and is not quite so exuberant about everything. But I think he's been a great. He's kept the fans informed. 100%. He's let people know what the club is all about now. What happens now with perhaps this new investment coming in. We will wait and see. But I think the board in general have done an amazing job. United have got the January transfer window, the way they've handled the pandemic. The training ground, they really have built a good basis. And of course, there's only one big chunk still missing that's been missing for a long time. And I really don't know what is going to happen there, but something has to happen stadium-wise before too long.
Do you generally believe, as you know, I mean, I'm guessing you don't know any more than we do, you may do, but in terms of the stadium, in terms of this new investment, do you think that there is something, that something might happen and this investment may be happening because there's something going on with the stadium, or is it, do you reckon I'm guessing is it fully opinion based and fully, you know, very, very spectacle, but do you think that's something to do with it? Do you reckon that stand could be being built with this new investment?
This is purely a personal opinion. I think something is happening now.
Yeah.
If that's going to be a new sports complex that really Oxford needs, and the extra investment would be put in to build that. I mean, the 100%. Oxford brand has, sadly, for sad reasons, with the pandemic, it's grown enormously. It is a worldwide brand, and the people involved are people who are very, very, very good businessmen. They understand that. So I think there may be moves. If it's the Kassam, who knows?
100%.
You can buy the Kassam. I personally, if I could put it all right in one go, I would keep the Kassam, update it, build the fourth stand, because there's so much that's already there. There's the car parking. There's pretty good facilities there. But if that will happen, we've been saying this for 19, 20 years now, haven't we? And there still seems to be no solution. But I think something's got to happen soon, isn't it?
It has, yeah.
And it will be interesting to see if it is a completely new project, or where they already are.
I think you're probably. I guess it's opinion based, but I think I was speaking about it to someone yesterday, and it's like, I think the best bet is to buy it off Kassam, because I mean, if we try and buy a new stadium, we're in Oxford. Where is there enough room to build a new stadium? I think the best bet probably is to buy it and do that stand. But with Kassam, I guess you really don't know. I think it's, you know, I think we're all a little bit clueless with Kassam, because you don't really know what's going on there. But yeah, go ahead. If you know, is there anything you'd like to say?
I agree. And again, I think we were talking yesterday, and I was saying new owners have always come in and think they can sort it out, don't they? Always think, well, right, we're going to get this. Never happened yet. But and again, I don't know how Mr. Kassam stands if they did move to a new ground. One would imagine that, you know, they could build houses on where the stadium is at the moment. There's so much supposition. You don't know. But yeah, personally, and I say this is a very personal opinion, I would like to stay at Kassam, build the full stand, update the stadium, and all the infrastructure's there. And there's so much there with the facilities, with the restaurants and everything else. The car parking, it is a pain getting in and out, but there's not many grounds that got a bigger car park as that, for instance. And there's so many pluses for it there, I think. And perhaps a railway station, even with you hear the trains going past every time. But again, carrying the BMW cars, and there's talk of that station, and that literally is a few hundred yards away from the ground.
100%. And hopefully we do see some movement. And I guess, the takeover isn't even going to be completed, they expect, in the next few weeks anyway. So I think we've got a few more weeks sort of speculating, and then we may see some changes sooner there. But I think the main thing is we on looking back on the pitch, that isn't a distraction, and we just focus on this season. And you know, we don't really know where the season's going to take us, whether or not we do finally finish or get ourselves in the top 6 come the end of the season. I think we just let the off-pitch stuff do its thing and just focus on the pitch. We'll speak about the end of the season. We'll speak about sort of your thoughts coming out as we sort of come to the business end of the season, the real run-in. I know it's completely opinion based, and you really don't know, and it is a prediction. But Nick, where do you see Oxford United finishing come the end of the season?
You've asked me Tuesday night. I've said this before, haven't I? I said in that top 6, and I think the playoff place is possible. Seeing yesterday and how they were outthought, I think, in many ways. Technically, I think that Blackpool really nullified United in so many ways, and that worries me a little bit. And I just looked at the table this morning. I mean, there's so many clubs involved. In one way, that's not good, but in another way, a lot of those clubs have got to play each other, haven't they? So I think United have got a squad that is capable of getting there. Dare I say, I'm 50-50. If they're actually going to make it in, that's really sitting on the fence. Come on. I think they will just get in there. I think they're just going to, especially with some of these injured players coming back.
I think if we do, I think it's going to be 1 point, maybe even goal difference. We look at the teams. I've got the league table now. We've got Accrington, us, Blackpool, Ipswich, Gillingham, Portsmouth, Charlton, Doncaster, Lincoln, and even Sunderland. Really, I guess in that race, that's from 11th to 3rd, or could finish in the top 6. And even then, there's only about 1 or 2 points between the teams from 11th to 6th. I mean, surely this is one of the tightest seasons in terms of getting the top 6. And even at the bottom of the table as well. I mean, it's not even, there's no real guarantees at the bottom of the table as well. I mean, as much as we'd love to see it, Swindon, I mean, they're safe at the moment. So, I mean, we don't really know what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I think if we do finish in the top 6, I think it's going to be very, very tight. Obviously, last season, you go.
Well, yeah, it's going to be nerve-wracking, isn't it? I don't think it'll be exciting. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And it's just, I think it's sad for United that I think the fans could have helped so much. And when you go to some of these big away games and there's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 Oxford United fans there is no doubt it does help them. And it makes you feel what the club's all about. And I think they miss that. And I think that's why it's so tight in there is, everything's higgledy-piggledy, isn't it? I mean, home games, away games, does it really matter? No fans, and we had a few fans, and there's not going to be any fans. It's very, very difficult. And the number of games, injuries and squads are now crucial, aren't they?
100%.
Not only to United, and we've seen it with the injuries and people coming back and people going out again. And it's going to prove very, very difficult. And you do feel that perhaps some of the sides with, well, I won't say bigger squads, but better squads. And I think I'd put United with everybody fit as that. They're going to have a better chance than sides that are relying on 12, 13 players, because they are going to get injured. That is just going to happen.
100%. I think, like you said there, it's down to the better of, the better squad is normally the team when you've got so many games and they're coming thick and fast. We talk about Tuesday, Saturday. You've got the games coming so quickly, and some very, very difficult ones as well. It is about having the better squad that, that's probably going to, I guess, that's probably going to be the deciding factor. We did finish in the top 6 last season. We weren't able to go up. We did finish, obviously, in those playoffs. We played Portsmouth in, obviously, the first round of the playoffs, semi-final. And obviously, we played against Wycombe as well. I know it's quite a disappointing thing to talk about. I know a lot of Oxford United fans don't really like talking about the Wycombe game in particular. But we'll briefly discuss it if you don't mind, because I think it could be interesting. I think it would be interesting.
Let's get it out of the system.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I haven't actually watched the highlights back, I don't think, since that game. I cannot do it. I cannot I can't possibly think of doing it. But were you there? I'm guessing you were.
I was there. Yeah, it was the first game I saw the Portsmouth game at home. When the penalty shootout and they got through. But I was there. Yeah.
I mean, it was just heartbreaking, because you just sort of felt like the whole season was, looking back, it was generally a very, very good season. We finished the top 6. There were so many ups. We had a great sort of pre-lockdown run, obviously, that got us into the playoffs. And then I just think lockdown, like it probably did to a lot of teams, certainly not Wycombe as much, just really did affect Oxford United.
Yeah, I think it did. And there was such an opportunity, wasn't it, to get into the Championship? A real opportunity. And there's absolutely no disrespect to Wycombe, who played the game exactly right. They knew their player, but United had every chance, I think, in the second half to win that game. I think that's what was so disappointing. Yeah, the lockdown. I mean, the goal at Shrewsbury that Josh Ruffels scored was so important. We joked. I remember going to the game to Shrewsbury, and they were taking the mickey out of me, the others, saying, well, you're over 70, it'd be the last game of football you'll be going to this year, because they were saying that when people over 70 wouldn't be allowed to football. Little did they know it was the last game that any of us were going to be going to till it came to the playoffs. I mean, you look at what happened to some of the other clubs, Peterborough in particular.
Yeah, they were really hard done by.
They're still mad about it. But was there any? Whatever solution was given was not going to be right for some clubs, and it suited United, and they got in there. And then to get past Portsmouth were difficult games. They weren't great games, but they were difficult. But they did it, and then to lose to Wycombe the way they did, it was heartbreaking. I don't think it really. I think like any big defeats like that, it doesn't hit you at the time.
Yeah.
It's the next day, isn't it? You just cannot believe they lost that game. Yeah,
100%. Like we spoke about it earlier, how annoyed and frustrated and disappointed Karl Robinson was. Yeah, it was disappointing yesterday, and you just sort of, maybe there was something in that game. And I mean, Blackpool did their homework; they knew how that we wanted to play, and they stopped us per. Who do you think? Where do you think we are? Do you think where are we missing? Do you think in this Oxford United team? What's that we're missing to sort of take us to that next level?
I think we're missing a fit, on form James Henry, to be honest with you, because not only does he score a lot of goals from midfield, he's got that guile, he's got that experience, and I think him and Matty Taylor proved a great combination. And I just love the way he plays football. And I think United, through injury and not great form, have really, really missed him. I hope that Elliott Lee, who I think was an extremely good person to come from Luton in that January transfer window. Hopefully, I hope that he can fill that role a little bit. And what we've seen, and I think he's had his injury problems with his knee, and I think that was a very, very good signing. I think that's where United really lack up front. Matty Taylor's got. If you provide him with goal-scoring chances, he will score goals. Yeah,
100%.
A bit of a baron, but he will. So you've got to be able to do that. They've got the pace down the flanks, and they'll have on and off days and on and off moments. Where there's Shadipo and Barker. That's the very nature of it. Defensively, I think United, the two centre backs, Josh Ruffles. I think it'd be good when Sam Long's back to play at right full back. So I don't think there's an awful lot missing, to be honest with you. Jack Stevens has done a fantastic job in goal since he's come in. I don't think they're far off. It's that bit of guile, that bit of difference in midfield I'd like to see to unlock sides like Blackpool and others who play the game so tight and so difficult to play against.
100%. And you spoke about that James Henry there last season. It was that partnership, wasn't it? We spoke about it on Wasn't the Game when I was on there a few weeks ago. We spoke about that partnership between James Henry and Matty Taylor. They were absolutely ruthless last season. They formed one of the best partnerships I think I've seen as an Oxford United pair. They were fantastic. And we speak about Matty Taylor sort of having a run where he doesn't hit the back of the net. But then, there's a big question there. Is that because he's missing the supply and that partnership with James Henry? I guess we will never know. But surely there's got to be something in that.
I think there definitely is. His record, goal-scoring record, he will score goals if he's given the chances. And even yesterday, he was getting into the near post, and I think the keeper smothered one, didn't he? Yeah. And it's not an easy game for him when he gets so isolated up front against two big centre-halves, and he's trying to play off the shoulder of them. Then he comes to look for the ball, doesn't he? And then I don't think he gets enough support from the midfield area, which James Henry probably did supply. I think Cameron Brannigan's coming into a good fight. Yesterday, I think he struggled a little bit, but he's had a lot of injuries. He's had the terrible eye problem, but I think he's going to be an absolutely key part for United on this run-in.
100%. And we've spoken there, Cameron Brannigan. I think since he's come back from that eye injury, you can see game by game the improvement. You can see him improving, as the minutes go down of every single game since he's been back. And you saw how important he was last season. We speak about the midfield, and I think yesterday's starting midfield, I think we've only had one goal out of all three of them, and that was a penalty from Goran against Portsmouth. That's no outfield goals from any of the midfield three that started yesterday. I think that could be something that that could be a possibility. That those midfielders, like we mentioned, James Henry, that midfield three need to probably get in with the goals if we are to be a little bit, if we are to start scoring more goals and finishing in the top six.
Yeah, very much so. And I suppose Elliott Lee, who has scored, he can provide that. It was the perfect game on Tuesday night against Doncaster. So the perfect first half. It would have made it absolutely goal perfect game if Cameron Brannigan had scored, hadn't it? Because Matty Taylor got off the game with two goals, the way United played. And he needs a goal, Cameron Brannigan. And I think that would be an enormous help to him.
100%. And I really, really hope that the midfield can start getting the goals. We saw, like you said there, Brannigan. They were almost, feeding it to Brannigan on Tuesday when we were 3-0 up. They were sort of, desperately trying to get him a goal, because I think he's a player that when he gets that one goal and when he gets that confidence, I think he can probably still go on and score 4 or 5 goals this season if he can, get a goal quickly. But he's got an opportunity. I expect he probably will start and he will play against Northampton, and hopefully that's the game where he can get his first goal of the season.
I think so.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I've got a few more questions for you, going back to sort of the ones looking back on your time as Oxford United broadcaster and fan. And this is an interesting one, and I'll be very, very impressed if you remember it, but I think you will. But can you remember the first season or even the first game that you commentated, or you're part of the broadcasting team for?
I certainly can. Yeah, it was 1975, Oxford United versus Blackpool at the Manor Ground, and it ended 0-0.
Wow.
I can't remember a great deal more about it, but I wanted to interview somebody after the game, and I was pretty green. But John Evanson, who'd been a United midfielder, had gone to Blackpool, and so I remember interviewing him after the game because I knew him quite well from his United days. Yeah, that was the very, very first game. Yeah,
it might not have been. There wasn't too many goals in that game, but I mean, at least you were, it's that first experience, and I mean, you've gone on to have a fantastic career in the broadcasting. We'll go back to sort of manager. I can guess. I'm not going to guess before, but I can pretty much guess exactly who you're going to say for this one, and that's your favourite Oxford United manager of all time.
I mean, for on-field success, it has to be Jim Smith, doesn't it?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
But for other reasons, there are other people. When I was on the board, when literally the walls were falling down around our ears, to work with Dennis Smith was an absolute unbelievable thing. Dennis was amazing. He did everything to try and save the club, to do what he had to do, and I've got enormous respect for him. Other managers, I was thinking about this before I came on air, there's some real unsung heroes at Oxford. Ian Greaves, who came to Oxford before Jim Smith, he paved the way for Jim Smith. Ian Greaves, he really set the ball rolling and got the side playing and made it a nice transition for Jim Smith to come into. And Brian Horton, keeping United in the Championship after everything that happened with Maxwell and everything else, was an amazing achievement. He was a fantastic manager, Brian 100%. Horton.
100%. And if you could rank, I mean, this is crazy. This is one I've done. If you could rank the top 5 managers, and an interesting one, would Karl Robinson get into that? Would he even get into top 5 or top? I mean, how many managers have you seen since you've?
Oh my golly!
I don't know how many. I don't know how many. I have no idea how many.
Arthur Turner, Jerry Summers, or those early days. I really don't know how many. The top. Can I say 5? But
if you don't,
I'll try and rank. Jim Smith's got to be there. Dennis Smith, for the reasons I gave you. Ian Greaves and Brian Horton. I think in more recent times, Michael Appleton did an absolute quality job, and you've got to say Chris Wilder. I mean, Chris Wilder picked this club up when it was going nowhere, and I mean, I think the whole club was in danger of completely folding inwards and going. And he picked the club up and got Oxford United back into the Football League. But for after-match press conferences, for sheer exuberance and enthusiasm, Karl Robinson's right up there. I got to say, and I just hope that that is rewarded with some success on the field for him.
100%. I think if Karl Robinson does take us to the Championship, he does take us to the next level, I think he definitely will be a manager that will be remembered, like you said, for his charisma, for the way that he comes across and the personality that he's got. Like you said, if he can get us promotion and he can really provide us with some fantastic success, I think he will be one to remember.
Yeah. I do as well. As we said earlier, he understands what Oxford United is all about, and not everybody has. It's in many ways, it's a unique football club. It's in a cosmopolitan city that is better known it's not a city known worldwide for football, is it? It's known for a university. It's known for, obviously now, the COVID jab and lots of other reasons. Not really for football.
No, he's a fantastic manager, and I think we'll look at last season a little bit more. And if we sort of look at how fantastic we were last season, generally to finish in the top six, could you remember last season? Because I mean, it's been difficult this season. Because I mean, looking at this season has been such a strange season. But last season, if we look at that, could you name the best game last season, the best performance last season, and then we'll sort of compare that to your best game this season. We'll sort of see the difference, because there's been so many different factors, hasn't there? I mean, with no fans and all that sort of thing. But last season, what was the most memorable point of last season?
Yeah, I think you'll be surprised. It wasn't a great big win. It was a 1-0 win at Ipswich.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been to Ipswich for a long, long time. You walk up to Alf Ramsey Way and Bobby Robson Avenue, and you go into this amazing football club, and they'd come down from the Championship and were pushing hard to go back up. United went there and they played, to me, I watched that game and I thought, this is a side that are going to go up. They got some early pressure. They got a great goal on the break. James Henry, Matty Taylor.
That partnership.
And then played, I thought, brilliantly in the second half. They looked like a side really in control of the situation. And I remember coming home from that game and thinking, this is a side that really could do it this time round. Yeah. And enormous goal scoring. It was just the whole demeanour of the players, the club and everything at a very big club really made me think, yeah, they're going to go somewhere.
I think it was that ruthless mentality last season, wasn't it? It was, we look at the teams going out, look at Ipswich, and we sort of didn't walk past them, but we sort of forgot who Ipswich were. We forgot, that it was Ipswich away. It was such a difficult place to go, and we just went, we're Oxford United this season. We're going to come in with a ruthless mentality, go there, like you said, soak up the pressure, and just be able to sort of, get that goal on Matty Taylor, and then just walk away from that thinking, I think I was the same as well. I was just sort of, this is the squad, this is the team with the right mentality to take us to the Championship. It just wasn't to be in the end, and I think it was such a. And that when you look back now, and I haven't really sort of looked back to every game, but there were some fantastic points last season. It's just a bit of a shame that last season is sort of clouded over by quite a disappointing end, really.
Yeah, very much so. And you mentioned the West Ham game, the Newcastle game. There was some Super Cup games, a very good cup run, wasn't it? But it's just that game that I thought, I've seen sides come to the Kassam and do that to United, and you think, this is a good side. This is a side that know what it's all about. And I felt there was Ipswich, who probably thought, Oxford, but they must have thought, God, a size like this in League One, we really are against it now. And it proved to be the case, of course, didn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember another interesting question, I think, and that's your least favourite moment of an Oxford United fan or broadcaster? What was that moment where you sort of, it just wasn't a nice time to be an Oxford United supporter? I doubt there were many times, but if you could pinpoint one.
Yeah, there've been. We got knocked out of the FA Cup at Nuneaton Borough. I don't know if they were called Nuneaton Borough there. I think they were. I never forget the game. And there was terrible crowd trouble after the game, caused by Oxford United fans. And I was sickened, one, the defeat, but much more by the crowd trouble. And that really, it really upset me. To think that there was Nuneaton Borough in this amazing moment for them. It's happened to Oxford. When you have these fantastic cup results, they fully deserve to win.
100%.
And then to get smashing up the ground and causing so many problems, I thought, I really, really don't like this. In fact, I hate this. And I think, dare I say, I was a little bit ashamed. It wasn't me that was causing the problem, but I felt ashamed to be associated with these yobbos.
Almost embarrassing, I guess. I think that's probably the best way.
Very, very much so.
Yeah. I mean, the relegation out of the Football League, I'm sure, is a moment that you will never want to live and never want to be part of again. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. I mean, I'm sure we will have a relegation again, obviously. But in terms of getting out of the Football League and falling out from League Two, I imagine that was one of the worst moments and such a horrible moment.
I think it was the worst, wasn't it? That game against Leighton Orient. And again, when it actually happened, I don't think it really hit home, to be honest with you. I remember sitting having a drink at the ground, saying we never normally do or did with Nathan and Jerome. We were in total shock, and it was only about a week later I started to realise that we actually were out of it completely. There's no way back, because there was some discussions about, I don't know, saying about the points or something, that there was a chance that we still might stay in, but it certainly, that was terrible.
I imagine it was horrible. I mean,
I think another really bad time was when we got to the playoff final that first year. We played Exeter, and the game at Gassama. I actually, that hit me more, I think, because I thought we were going to go back in the first year. I think everybody thought, and it had been done by Doncaster, Shrewsbury, Carlisle. I think they'd all got back. They all said I spoke to a number of people from these clubs, journalists, and they all said, you've got to throw everything at it, get back in the first year, and it's not too bad. And I think we all thought the United would get back in the first year, and they lost that game. They won at Exeter. And then they came back up to Oxford and lost that game. I think that was as bad as actually going out of the league, to be honest with you. Yeah, that hit me hard on that night, very much so. Yeah,
100%. And that's more probably frustration, disappointment, all the emotions of that, because we just when you get relegated, what you want to do is you want to just go, right, you got to accept it, and that's the first thing, accepting the fact that you got knocked out of the football league, and then your mind goes straight to, right, we've got to get there as quickly as possible. But it sometimes just isn't as easy as that, because you've got players leaving, obviously, when you get relegated. There's things, obviously, the board level, the manager as well. It must be so difficult, sort of just as a football club, to deal with a relegation and then sort of have that pressure to try and get back up straight away.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you try to do that. I mean, let's be honest, as a fan, that first year, and as a broadcaster, it was a bit of an adventure, to be honest with you. It wasn't too bad at all. We were going to places that were really interesting.
Exactly.
We went to some unbelievable football clubs and met some fantastic people. I remember thinking, wow, this is for a year. This is quite enlightening. Going to Ebbsfleet and going to these sort of places and meeting some amazing people who supported, ran these clubs. And I thought, well, if it's a year, I think it would do us all a bit of good, actually.
Yeah.
But
brand new experiences, some new grounds.
Turned into a nightmare, didn't it? Yeah,
I mean,
a total and utter nightmare.
I imagine when you get down there, you're sort of trying to desperately sort of convince yourself that it's not that bad. I mean, surely we can see some new ground, new players. Deep down, you are still thinking, please, I really, really hope we can get promoted the first season. It wasn't to be.
Don't want to come here again, please.
100%. Great experience, but I don't want to come here again.
No, absolutely right. We went to some amazing places. Histon, which was almost on the outskirts of Cambridge, almost a village club. So many. But as I said, we met some great people, and you realised, well, it was not the grassroots of football, but you realised that this football pyramid is totally unique to this country and something that has got to be really, really protected. And I remember I told my friends in MotoGP, they just would not believe me, or the Italians and everyone. I said, we played a game. We're not in the football league. We're in the conference. We played a game against Luton at the Oxford at the Gassama. I think it was over 10,000 there. And it was the biggest crowd in Europe at a football match that night. And they just would not believe me that 10,000 people would go to a non-league football match. And I said, that's what the pyramid and what the game in England is all about. And I still follow with enormous interest the National League South and North, the Southern League. I do find it fascinating.
We've still got Oxford City, of course, the obviously in there as well, which I'm sure hopefully one day we could maybe see Oxford City in the pyramid or in League Two. You just don't know, but at the moment you never know, really.
No, I mean City have done an amazing job. I think they've been dealt a really bad blow, haven't they, now, with the league coming to a finish.
Yeah, 100%.
The form they were in. And with David Oldfield at the helm and many good people supporting him, I think they had a real chance of getting into the National League. And then, well,
who knows?
Who knows? Do you? You're one off getting in the Football League. And what happened to Oxford City with the old White House ground being sold off, and them playing some games at Cutslow Park and everything else to where they are now. It's an amazing story of a football club that certainly when I was growing up, and certainly was the first club I started watching in Oxford rather than heading to United. I cut my teeth on watching Oxford City at the old White House ground.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But I think we'll sort of close up a little bit. But I think the last thing we'll just briefly mention is it's an interesting one, and that's the best performance you've seen an Oxford United team play in your time as a fan. Which performance do you look back on over all the years have you been part of the club where you go, that was an incredible day, an incredible performance, and could you pinpoint one? I imagine there's so many, but if you could name one, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, that is really, really difficult. I mean, going away from the big cup wins, obviously stand out. Just looking for some of the league performances, I think again that side that won the second division, the first division, and got into the they won the third division, the second division, then got into the Premier League, the first division as it was then, and then got to Wembley. There's some games then. The Leeds game, funny that we were talking about when United were 2-0 down and beat Leeds with the Aldridge hat trick. Some of the cup runs. Here we go. I mean, you can't get away. The Steve Biggins goal against Manchester United when they knocked Man. When we played Arsenal, we needed to win to stay in the Premier League, and we beat them, I think, 3-0 at the Manor Ground. And Billy Hamilton scored 2 of the goals. And I remember Billy Hamilton, his knees were so bad, he found it hard walking up the steps to do the after-match interview in the old Beach Road stand. That's the game. There's so many games, and of recent years, that Swansea game.
That was
really
that's crazy.
Swansea and the West Ham game last season. Oxford. Let's be honest, they made a Premier League side look mugs, didn't they? They really did. They were the Premier League side. So those sort of games. Some of the Swindon games as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we
two of the James Constable goals. We at last went back to a Swindon. Yeah, I won't forget those games. Yeah.
So some fantastic moments, of course, in your very, very decorated career in sport. And today we've been speaking about Oxford United in particular. But Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today, and you're the first ever guest on the podcast of the interview as well, which is absolutely incredible. And I think there's no better person to be the first one. And I'm so happy that you were happy to come on, and it honestly means the world. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and good luck with the podcast, and good luck with everything you're doing about Oxford United, this community. Everything relies on younger people than me. I've been where you were many years ago, and it's so important that we give everybody an opportunity to achieve what I've achieved, and it's only with the help of an awful lot of people. So good luck.
Thank you very much, and hopefully I will speak to you again on Wasn't the Game. Hopefully we'll be going on there, hopefully before the end of the season. But I look forward to speaking to you soon. It's been fantastic.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you.